This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As we continue here in Bonn, I sat down with another of the Right Livelihood laureates, Johan Galtung. He won the award in 1987. We talked about the Mideast talks, the U.S. wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the rise of China as a superpower. Yes, Johan Galtung, we've had him on the broadcast a number of times, and he started by talking about the Middle East.
I think the only viable solution is a Middle East community consisting of Israel and the 5 bordering Arab states, meaning Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Palestine, fully recognized according to international law, and Egypt. That was the solution for Europe, with Germany in the center, this time with Israel in the center. I think that could work, and I think what they are negotiating is a non-starter from the beginning. With the formula I just indicated, I think Israel could get peace with open borders, free flow, and perhaps the possibility of Jews settling in the neighboring countries too, but not trying to mess them up with too much investment and too many tricks of various types. There has to be some rules. And what they're doing now within Europe have been a treaty between Germany and Luxembourg. That was not the way Europe solved its problem.
What do you think? How would you describe what is happening now in Sharm-Al-Sheikh? Who are the negotiating parties?
Well, formally speaking, it is Abbas from the Palestinian Authority and Bibi Netanyahu from the Israeli government. But the settlers have threatened to withdraw from Netanyahu's coalition if he gives too much to the Palestinians. And by giving too much, I don't think there is much margin from the Russian settler point of view. And I think there are similar threats from Gaza and from Hamas. I don't think this will work. It is not a solution on the horizon. I think it is to some extent a maneuver, and that both of them will try to blame the other or some third party.
What about the role of the United States?
The role of the United States. The United States was never a mediator. A mediator cannot be an ally of one of the parties. And having a joint concern since the United States and Israel came into being the same way, by some kind of divine mandate. That we are chosen peoples, and this is our promised land. The people on board the Mayflower took over the Jewish metaphor before they landed on the Plymouth Rock. So I think they are obsessed with the idea that if one falls, so does the other. Now, that's an asymmetry which is unacceptable for a mediator. A much better mediator would have been the European Commission. The European Commission should enter here, not only as a mediator, but as a model. Just simply revealing what happened, laying the cards on the table. How did they manage to integrate Germany that had committed so many atrocities? That is quite some story, and that story would be inspiring for them. And out of it came something that works. Right now they have a little currency crisis, but they're overcoming that much better than somebody else.
How did they manage to integrate Germany? What year was it?
It was started with the Coal and Steel Authority in 1950. And from 1st of January 1958 came the Treaty of Rome. And the basis was mutual and equal benefit. Germany entered as a full member from the beginning. I think it was told that you better shut up the first 20 years, don't talk too much, and if there are some bills to pay, you pay them. Now, I don't think that would work with Israelis. First of all, they cannot shut up, and secondly, I don't think they are willing to pay any bill. But I'm just mentioning it, not quite as a joke, because that was the way it worked. Germany was more obedient, to put it that way. It has become a glittering success in terms of accommodating Germany. That they have other problems is obvious.
Professor Galtung, what about Iraq? Where we stand today with Iraq, where Iraq stands?
I think the basic point about Iraq is that it is an artificial construction by 2 civil servants of the British Foreign Service in 1916. And I think they had the assignment of constructing a country out of the remnants of the Ottoman Empire, which could, within the borders of one country, accommodate the oil in Kirkuk, Mosul in the north and Basra in the south. And so they did. Now, that's not a rationale for a country. Mesopotamia, between the rivers, would have made sense. Iraq, I think, is doomed to disintegration. This is one reason why they still don't have a government in spite of elections in March. They cannot agree on a formula for it. So I would say that it will disintegrate as either a very loose federation or a confederation. There is some Iraq that has come into existence. I am quite willing to say that. But it is weak. And I don't think the capital can be in Baghdad, which is in one of the 4 Sunni provinces out of the 18 provinces. And you see, the Sunnis have been ruling this system, not having oil. And the others are not quite willing to bail out the Sunnis. So I think it's a non-starter. It was a non-starter from the beginning, and Obama is now following in the footsteps of George Bush. I don't think there's anything new, actually, in Obama's proposal, and doesn't look promising.
I mean, you have about 50,000 troops. You have the largest U.S. embassy in the world there, something like 80 football fields in size.
Unbelievable, inside the green zone. Unbelievable. How are they going to dismantle that? Well, those bases, I guess, were inspired by the idea that there will be a war with China. There's always been the Anglo-American idea that the biggest power, be that on the continent or be that in Eurasia, is our born enemy. It's always been the Anglo-American idea. Some kind of paranoia, and totally unnecessary. So I guess the bases are essentially for that purpose, like the purpose of the Bagram base in Afghanistan, the same.
Do you see a similar way of the U.S. so-called withdrawing in Afghanistan? Do you think they're going to follow the model with the U.S. in Iraq?
They are going to withdraw from both of them because it is a mission impossible, a mission unachievable. They're going to withdraw, and I think the most likely future for the U.S. in both countries is to become neither a winner nor a loser, but irrelevant. And that whole area will be managed by some cooperation between Turkey and China and the countries in between. The countries in between being Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan. And that means the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. I'm just back from a meeting with them in China, and some other people from the Central Committee. And the defunct Regional Development Cooperation between Turkey, Iran, and Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now, this is a massive belt of countries, so I would watch out for this, for Ankara-Beijing cooperation.
For what?
Cooperation. Watch out. It's not there yet, but Beijing is now building a railway from Xinjiang, the western province, with the Uyghurs that Beijing, by and large, have treated not only badly, but stupidly, into Kazakhstan. Now, if that railroad ends up in Istanbul, they are in business, and it could easily do.
You have spoken to a number of U.S. Congress members about what you think needs to be the solution in Afghanistan. What have you proposed, and what is their response?
I propose withdrawal of all foreign troops, coalition government with the Taliban, Afghanistan as a federation, relatively loose because of all the centripetal tendencies, probably with the capital not in Kabul, a confederation with the surrounding Islamic countries, meaning a Central Asian community, with the 5 former Soviet Central Republics, plus Iran, plus Pakistan, plus maybe the Muslim part of Kashmir, and a policy of equality between genders and nations. I've spoken with Taliban about that, and they say, we know we are behind on the gender issue, but we're not going to be told that by foreigners. We're going to learn from countries, Muslim countries, that are ahead. Tunisia, above all Tunisia, since 1956 already. Turkey, Indonesia, southern Philippines. We know we are behind, and we are going to develop on our own premises. Okay? Number 5 is security. It's a very violent culture, probably organized by the organization of the Islamic Conference in cooperation with the UN Security Conference. Not NATO, not USA, not ISAF, nothing of that type. Get it out and get the work started. Personally, I think that the future of Afghanistan will be handled by that belt from Turkey to China. It's a very powerful one.
What do U.S. congressmen respond?
They shrug their shoulders and they say, dear Professor Galtung, it's impossible to convey to American voters, because that means that we have to concede that the other side has a couple of good points and that we have a couple of wrong points. It's very difficult to do that. And one of them, a very famous one, who shall remain unmentioned, put it this way: our instinctive reaction whenever there is a problem is to send the Marines and not to try to solve the problem. We have done that too many times. And you see, here comes a little point about China. China, within what classical China regards as their pocket in world geography, between the Himalayas, the Gobi Desert, the tundra, meaning Siberia, and the sea, is theirs. That doesn't mean it's all part of China, but China has the upper hand, and they have treated parts of it very badly. Wars with